All right, how's it going, guys? We're live right now. I'm going to pull up the comments so we can get this started. It's going to be a good long-range discussion here. We're going to be talking about the cold and snowy start to December that I'm predicting here for the first week of December, as well as this final week of November, despite a brief warm-up that we're going to have, and I'll have more on that as well. For the people reviewing this will be also a very good video to watch. It's going to be on the longer side, so if you're willing to put up with that, and I'm going to be obviously answering random comments, and that's not going to make any sense to you because you're watching it in the video, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway. Hello, everyone. I'm here. Hi. Silver Ghost, what's going on? Random Craft is here. Hello, everybody. Hello. Yeah, I'll get more on the first week of December here. I'm not going to get into specifically where I think snow will happen. I can tell you where I think snow is possible and give you kind of odds. I'm going to be eating my dinner as I do this one, so if I don't talk for a couple seconds, that's probably why. Like that right there. We're going to look at current radar. Now, this is the storm that I had a forecast on earlier. If you haven't seen that, I would check it out, obviously, after the live stream. But we're expecting 3 to 6 inches in a lot of regions here for New England, including Albany, some portions like Pittsfield, Massachusetts here in this mountain range, south of the Green Mountains, as well as, into the, I think, Concord area of Massachusetts here, where there's also another kind of hilly region that's east of this river valley in here. So we'll be expecting that. Southern New Hampshire as well into Maine, 3 to 6 inches for all of you. So looking at current radar, looking pretty snowy over there. All right. Adrian Zayangos. Okay, we need to talk about this last storm. You said for Long Island, 1 to 2 inches, and we got 4.5. Well, I mean, stuff happens. There's many things that went into it, and it's not – the stuff that happened isn't really predictable further out than 5 hours, as long as the models aren't picking it up. If the models aren't picking it up, it couldn't have been predicted. So, again, you won't really find somebody who forecasted anything above 1 to 2 inches, most likely for Long Island either, or those areas in New Jersey, New York City, Southern Connecticut, etc. A lot of areas overperformed there. I think the only people who called for the amount of snow that they actually got was the people who consistently call for more snow than places actually get. So that's the only way. For instance, I think the Weather Channel would be a good example of somebody who usually overdoes snowfall totals and forecasts consistently. And when for some reason something overperforms, they're right that occasion. But all right. So going into long range, it's important to pay attention to these teleconnections that we have here. So we're going to look at the NAO first off. This is a kind of blocking type oscillation that we can see from where the low pressure systems are set up in the high pressure systems. And this usually leads to, I guess it signals that we could be looking at a trough and storminess in the eastern United States. A positive NAO usually means we won't be looking at quite as much chance of trough in the east. See, this goes negative, and it goes negative here and starts to go a little bit positive or more towards neutral, and then goes really negative. This is when I think we'll start to get really cold. After that, we're kind of in this neutral phase, and we're going to go a little bit negative, a little bit positive, then really negative again. Being near that 2-degree negative mark there, really, that's really negative there. As you can see here, we haven't been that negative. Well, we haven't really been negative that much since even August or July. So we're also going to take a look, and if you look at this real quick, you can also see it goes negative, pretty negative there. And the PNA, another very important oscillation. You want this one to go positive for troughiness in the eastern United States, and then that looks to happen here. We've been in a kind of neutral negative phase for quite a while, and that's usually a ridge up against the west coast of the United States, and that kind of blocks out the cold and promotes a trough again in that eastern United States sector. Then we look at the AO, and this kind of controls if there will be cold anywhere. This really has to do a lot with the Arctic Circle and kind of will the cold be held up right near the Arctic Circle, or will it kind of spread out and allow other places to get troughs that lead to well below average temperatures? And when this goes really far negative, you look for very, very big Arctic outbreaks, and this looks to go very far negative. And if you if you had the time and you looked at all of these little timestamps, most of these are big cooldowns for summer in the United States. And then these are usually milder periods when they're positive. So that's usually how that tends to work. Now, when they all work together, because usually you only get a few of them or one of them to go negative, and it's kind of mixed signals. But when they all work together, you're quite confident. I'm quite confident that it'll even be a pretty big snowstorm there in maybe the first week of December, or the very, very close to December in late November for the eastern United States. I'm quite confident of that. Quite confident of that. I don't know why I wouldn't be, because we've had multiple snowstorms already for those areas, so it wouldn't be too crazy, but I am calling for that to happen. All right, so I want to show you guys. Actually, I'd like to scroll that up a bit more there. As a matter of fact, I'd like to do this real quick. This will be a lot easier. All right. So if we look at our winds here, this is the best way to kind of see troughs and ridges. I know this confuses some people, but hopefully you can bear with me here. We see our trough in this area and a big ridge up here on that west coast of the United States. That kind of, keeps these areas very, very warm. This is the type of blocking pattern that can lead to really cold temperatures in the east, and it does here, as we see our trough go something like that. This also leads to low pressure systems kind of tracking just above the jet stream there. We see our southern jet right here. This is kind of where the moisture is all coming from, and that also enhances that as well. So that's kind of the pattern we've been stuck in here for quite a while now. So again, northern jet, anywhere north of this jet is pretty cold, and even areas south of it in the troughiness. And then this jet kind of leads to, average temperatures, but really leads to a lot of precipitation being brought in from these more tropical areas. So we're going to go a little bit further here. And here's where the PNA likes to go a little bit negative here for quite a while. Like I said, maybe over the weekend into early next week. So we're talking maybe 23rd into, 26th or 27th. We're looking at more of a milder period there for the eastern United States. As my phone is frozen right now, so I'm definitely not getting new comments. I was wondering what was going on. That's certainly not good, as my entire phone is crashing, so that's fun. Anyway, I'll keep talking though. We see the trough here over the west coast of the United States, or this little bit of a trough here, and that's really either a neutral PNA or a negative PNA, sorry. And this leads to, a little bit of a ridge here that we can see kind of abroad where we'll see milder temperatures. And I'll even click off here and show you guys a little bit more of what I'm talking about. We'll see these temperatures here. And this is the colder temperatures moving out. And you see the milder temperatures return to the eastern United States. And we kind of get those colder temperatures in the central United States. That's the pattern that we will be set up in, where we'll get milder temperatures for the East Coast. First time that's happened since maybe, or it's going to be the most prolonged period of mild temperatures that we've had probably since earlier in October. All right. Got a pepper in my throat. All right. So we see our ridge here, and this is really going to help my November forecast solidify as well. I might want to add, considering I'm calling for, the colder temperatures in the central United States, warmer temperatures, or, neutral temperatures there for the eastern United States and as well on the west coast. So help out a lot just to get those cold temperatures in there. So we're going to go again to the upper level winds. And we go back to that pattern that we've been in so it looks like the maybe cool down by, maybe the 26th. So Monday, maybe Sunday night, in the Monday. So Monday is going to end up being a colder day for the East Coast, at least. We kind of see this split jet again. I talked about this maybe a couple months ago, but you kind of see this little bit of a jet go down here, and it's the southern jet, and then we see our northern jet do something like this. And that's the trough moving in, so I don't expect actually that it'll be cold yet on the East Coast. It looks like we'll still have that warm air heading up. Should be wet, though, for that time period, if I'm correct. It's not always certain with the precipitation, but if I had to guess, I would say there's probably a storm there. Yeah, so it's quite stormy on the East Coast there. As you can see, half an inch of rain fell in these blue areas. So, yeah, it is stormy on the East Coast at that hour, but it shouldn't be cold yet for the East Coast, yeah. So probably the day after. So by, Tuesday, we see that cold move in. Yeah. Okay. That's more like it. All right. So, yeah, we see our trough here. And, again, the split jet. This is, I might want to mention also, when the pattern switches a little bit here, we're going to see California get some precipitation. That's really important, okay, because we all know that they don't get a lot nowadays. Now, they will be getting a lot of precipitation, but once this pattern switches back to this kind of split jet theme, it's going to get dry again over here because these jets are kind of what drives the moisture, and these areas are going to have high pressure, and really the precipitation is going to go around you, unfortunately. Now, I'm going to click on this because actually my phone keeps crashing because that's how many comments are coming in right now. I want to thank you guys for that. I like the fact that I get plenty of comments. Something's messing up my phone for sure. Let's see. Okay. Actually, not getting too many comments. I don't really know why my phone's messed up. All right. So, yeah, we see a split jet. Now, right around this time period, first off, it looks like there'll be a low pressure system. Not that I can really predict exactly when we will be looking at a low pressure system to hit anywhere, but the GEFS, which is the ensemble model, wants to put a low pressure system there. But really, it's once we get into this first week of December that I really think there's a risk here. Now, you notice it gets kind of flat and doesn't look as much troughs and ridges. That's because this is an ensemble model, and they start to get kind of mixed opinions, and it kind of, normalizes the whole thing. It kind of pulls out the average, so it ends up looking a lot more average. But I can kind of see that they still overall want to have a little bit of that split jet and then kind of meet down here again. So it still looks troughy in the east. And if we look at the main GFS model, I'm assuming it would most likely say the same exact thing if we look right here. I actually know it does, but okay. So yeah, we have more of that same look that we've been looking at. Except the split jet doesn't look as split back here, which is good news actually for California. Could be more moisture on the way. Yeah, so more moisture on the way for you guys, as long as that split jet. So it looks like the split jet's only there for a little bit. Then, or at least on the ensemble model, the split jet's there, and then the normal GFS model is not. Interesting stuff. Well, the split jet's there a little bit. Yeah. So it does come for a brief amount of time, but then the jet returns, and that's bringing moisture on shore. Anyway, so our warm-up, again, is around this time frame when we will see that ridge right here. in the eastern United States and kind of troughing in the central western United States. Then we see that PNA move back onshore a little bit. And I don't think that's there you go. Okay, so there's our positive PNA, and that is probably the most positive PNA I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, that's interesting. I'll show you in a second when I can draw. You can see that's where the jet stream likes to go. I don't know if that's some sort of glitch. I've never seen it ever go that far north, so that'd be very interesting to keep an eye on. Seems a bit ridiculous. So so probably more like something like this. And then troughing in the central United States. Again, Tuesday is when the troughing arrives kind of in the eastern United States. All right. So I want to go ahead and show you guys more of the precipitation side of things. I think we have more chances at snowstorms like we had a few days ago. Again, the one that I definitely did not do too good forecasting. I think there's going to be a chance for, well, first off, there's going to be a chance for a lot of these in between, these little clipper type systems that move offshore really quickly. Bring a quick few inches to some areas. Again, that looks like a second one, a little bit weaker there, just by Thursday even. So by Thanksgiving, you could be looking at a little bit of snow showers all over the place in New England. Very cold Thanksgiving, record cold actually. Might want to mention that. But we get kind of quiet for a while, and then we see this storm system, right? So that could lead to really rainy conditions here for the southeast. And then we see this storm system, which could lead to snow for portions of Illinois, Missouri, Wisconsin, kind of that central United States area. And then that likes to flip around and possibly turn into some sort of Miller B nor'easter here on the East Coast and bring interior New England very, very heavy snow and kind of chill right there for quite a while. And if we look at the total snowfall, yeah, lots of snow. Not saying that's going to happen. It's kind of long range, but we are looking at the signals, and the signals are showing that it could, in theory, with this jet underneath, this one right here, and this northern jet coming in perfectly, that could lead to a lot of potent storms as long as that pattern's in place. And then I think I saw another one later on this run, possibly. Yeah, so this one could possibly come a little bit closer to the East Coast, and that would bring snow as well. That's the other one I wanted to show you guys. So Rick Young, I think I kind of answered that one for you. But yeah, so it's pretty uncertain right now. A lot of snow for the mountains of just the Rocky Mountains in general out here, quite consistently up into December. So we're going to keep a close eye on that one. Hard to forecast an exact storm or anything, but it looks like there's going to be multiple chances. My December forecast will be out a few days before December, so somewhere right at the end of November. Yeah, in between now and the 8th, I'm looking at maybe 3 or 4 chances for snowstorms, maybe more. So in between now and December 8th. I think right now, interior northeast is probably the biggest threat. So something like we've had for the past couple storms is the biggest chance. Could dip a little bit further south and include coastal New England. Could get Rhode Island and Connecticut involved again, maybe New York City. I do think Boston will see some snow in the next few weeks for sure. Which time period were you talking about, Tech Man? Final winter forecast is going to be out in the next 10 days, so before November as well. I don't think North Carolina has too much of a chance at snow quite yet, but it's looking quite cold. Um, okay, so we're cold. I'll show you guys real quick. So we're cold from now. Get a little bit of a milder day for tomorrow. A little bit, kind of average, then cold again until about maybe Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. Then the East Coast is warm on Sunday, and then you're cold again, pretty much by Wednesday at least. So yeah, except for the Northeast up here, they take a little bit longer. It warms up a little bit here for your first few days of December. But I expect things will be a lot colder than what this is showing based on teleconnections. And if you look at the ensembles, should look a bit colder, yeah. So yeah, the ensembles as a whole are thinking really cold, basically from December 1st until the 5th, at least. And this is quite good agreement for ensemble model. And I believe even the CFS weeklies, well, they're not on board. They never are, though. There you go. Except from the 3rd to the 10th of December, they have pretty good agreement here that there will be cold on the East Coast, as well as the 10th to the 17th, 17th to the 24th, and then getting even colder by the 24th to the 31st. So things are looking really good for the East Coast as far as like cold. The CFS it's really rare that it shows cold, and usually it has a warm bias. So if it's showing a little bit of cold, usually that means there's a good chance it'll be really cold. Make a weather for NYC. Haven't you been on the Weather Channel from time to time? No, I've never been on the Weather Channel. Can you explain Florida's outlook in 3 words, please? Lukewarm conditions. Make a blizzard video. Well, there has to be a blizzard for me to make a blizzard video. When do you see the big lake effect snows to kick in for the Northeast? Well, I think as soon as you get really cold conditions, so we're gonna have to wait for these big troughs. You know. That's one thing. Mount Washington blizzards for sure. Yeah, well, to understand lake effects, you need to understand how instability works. So heat rises, cold goes down. So basically, if you get warmer waters and the super cold temperatures going over them, that basically flips that whole thing upside down, right? Because the waters are warmer than the air. So that water, the air that's radiating off of that, or the temperature, is leading to those warmer conditions right above the water. So that's kind of flipped. And when we see those rise, that kind of brings the moisture up, further up, further up, further up, further up, and that develops clouds and precipitation. Instability is when there's is basically when there's hot underneath the cold. Yeah, Northwest New Jersey during December. I can't show you all of December there. Can't show you what the GFS shows as far as total snow through the entire run. Nothing for New Jersey yet. Let's see. Where was I? Do hurricanes affect the winters? But no, but the things that affect hurricanes, how many hurricanes there is, does affect winters if it carries over. So there is some signs. Big lake effect snows for Michigan. It's possible. Possible. There might be snow early next week. Yeah. Utah snow is very possible. Very possible as we get this pattern switch. Minneapolis, it really just depends. There's some snowstorm risks here coming up pretty soon, but no big ones yet. Do you know if Greenland block has set up yet? That might affect how slow the northeast storms move. Yeah. So usually the blocking kind of correlates with the NAO. So there's at least no consistent blocking yet. Like, yeah. Right there, it looks like it wants to set up something with those way above average temperatures out here. This looks like pretty good blocking for that time stamp at least. So it's inconsistent blocking, but at times there is at this point. How much of a effect does volcanic activity have on weather patterns? Really just depends on what scale. I mean, if obviously if it blocks out the entire sun, it has a lot of effect. Um, but as far as like minor volcanoes or a lot of minor volcanoes, I don't really know. I don't really know. I don't know how much research has been done on that yet either. Checking out the models, some of them suggest snow as far south as Georgia around the start of December. It's hard to say. Like models, definitely you got to go with history over models in this time frame. I'd look at the guidance from the models. Like for instance, you don't see me really looking past like hours, 100 and being like, okay, so I know that there's going to be snow for New Hampshire, Vermont, and I could easily just be like, yeah, so it looks like there's going to be mixed conditions here for upstate New York, and I really struggle to get mixed over to snow, and then we're really going to see a snowstorm here for western Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, because this storm will not set up like this no matter what. It will not look like this. There's like a 1% chance that it actually looks pretty much like this. So you double that time frame, and well, you have way more uncertainty. Also, the only thing I really like to look at is your upper winds and your teleconnections. Those are the big things. If you memorized and know your history on what usually correlates to different things, and also just knowing like what a good setup is. So when I see this northern jet dip down right here and have this southern jet right there underneath it, I know that there's a really good chance for a storm right here. But I can't tell you that I can't be like, oh, there's going to be snow for West Virginia or New Jersey. I just know that this is a signal that we are going to look at a stormy pattern here. It looks like a really stormy pattern. That's as far as I can go. Yeah, Chicago, you're going to be looking at a drier winter than average, so it's going to be tough to get that blockbuster snow, especially with the trough not moving around too much. Usually you guys get snowstorms when the trough is in transition, so it's going to be really tough to get that kind of conditions. I'm sure that you will get some big snowstorms. It's just going to be harder to happen this year. I think you're going to get a lot more smaller scale snowstorms, but many of them that adds up. But yeah, there's none in the foreseeable future, it looks like. Yes. I think it's very possible. That's one of my analogs for sure. So I think it's possible. That was a really cold winter, though. I think it could be kind of like it, but not quite as cold. Northern Maryland, I think you have about a 30% chance of seeing snow before December 10th. About a 30 or 40% chance. So there's a chance, just not an insanely good one. Yeah, I don't think you can expect snow in Norfolk, Virginia, even before Christmas. There's not a really huge chance of that happening before Christmas. So, your first day in the central United States could be really cold for December, for the central United States. Then it kind of gets a little bit more mild as we move on towards the 5th. and then you kind of get a ridging type pattern. But really, the first and the second look to be possibly be really cold for you. Well, the other news most likely isn't right a lot, are they? I think it's possible, though. I'm eating salad. So, yeah. Really big pieces of leafy lettuce in there. They didn't chop it enough. My next winter forecast is somewhere this week. It's ready, but I don't want to show it yet. Also, it looks way better than my last ones. Nice. You should just release it, man. You'll get more views. People stop watching them once it's already December. They don't get quite as many views. So I would release it as soon as possible if I were you. I haven't made mine yet. That's my problem. Can you mention Northwest Arkansas conditions? Like current conditions? Or what exactly are you asking me? I'm saying as far as cold. I think this winter has a good chance to be a lot like a late 70s winter. I'm not saying certain areas will get snow or won't get a lot of snow. I'm just saying as far as like how good the setup looks for troughing in the east. That's it. The results, I can't really say if the results will be the same as 1977, but the signals look the same. When is the first major snowfall for Long Island? 3 days ago. But in all seriousness, probably it could be in this in first week of December time period actually. So I wouldn't completely doubt it. Um, how far does the polar vortex usually go down? Well, first off, you have to realize how the polar vortex works and the areas it affects. We have a strong polar vortex and a weak polar vortex, and it's the opposite of what you would think. Weak polar vortex usually means that it will be colder for areas like the United States. So, your normal polar vortex in the winter is something like this. Probably even a little bit tighter than that. Probably something like this. Okay? And it's really cold in these areas, even possibly below average temperatures for these areas. So that would be like a strong polar vortex, so even stronger than typical. All right. Now, as it gets weaker, it spreads out, okay, to where it's really spread out. And this is where the Arctic air can intrude way further south in any direction than it typically would. So, weaker polar vortex means that it spreads out further. Stronger polar vortex means that it tightens up and it stays right there over the Arctic where it belongs. So there's no really where it's typically at. There's just an average of where it's at based on like, okay, so sometimes it's all the way in the United States and then sometimes it's all the way just right on that Arctic circle. Mike, I'll be making a Thanksgiving forecast pretty soon here. Allison Cron, I think so. I think that Northern Virginia's winter will be colder than average and snowier. Bobby Livingsworth. I'm going to release my winter forecast in 3 weeks. That's a little late, isn't it? I guess if you look at the CFS, you'd probably think that, but all teleconnections are leaning toward, especially the positive PDO and the El Nino being moderately weak. I think January could be quite mild, but I think February should be frigid. I mean, based on my analogs, February should be very, very, very cold. Even colder than this December will be. But I do agree with you that December will be pretty good, very good actually. Especially the earlier portion, I'm a lot more confident on. Thanksgiving, second week of December for Rockies. Yeah, you'll be wetter, so I think that you're going to get a lot more snow for the Rockies there. I don't recall the polar vortex going to Florida. Yeah, I think we're going to start getting some Miller A's here in the first week of December, actually. The setup is quite nice for that. Quite nice indeed. If we look at it around the 4th, we see that southern jet dip into the Gulf states, and that's usually when we're going to start seeing those Miller A's because this is where the moisture is going to go and then up the coast. And this is even a Miller A right here that the GFS is trying to signal. So, yes, I think we will start to see some Miller A's. Yeah, Bobby, usually as of late, these last few winters, the whole December is kind of a thaw. And then the first week of January is consistently cold. Now, I don't think that'll happen this year, but it usually always happens for some reason. So we'll have to watch and see. I don't think it really matters, though, because we know that there is a lot of thaws that happen every winter. So either way, there will be 1 or 2 or 5. (2014 to 2015) is the closest one. I think 2002 to 2003, or was it 2001 to 2002? I'll have to check back on my analogs. I need to refresh my memory on all my analogs and everything. But very cold in Delaware. DJ, very, very cold. Yeah, well, the central United States tend to be drier. So that's what that's all about. I think there could be an early start to the spring this year, but there's going to be an early start to winter. Obviously, we've already kind of started. Everybody will look back and say that winter started in the halfway mark of November this year. I think we can all agree on that. But if this winter does end up going into April, like some winters do, this could be one of the longest winters we've, in recent history for sure. Very early start in that, and if it had a late start, again, very late start, it'd be a very long winter. I think January will be warmer than December, but I think February will be colder than even December. So there's probably about a 45% chance of a northern Jersey white Christmas unless we have a thaw. But right now, long range models are calling for colder conditions, but it's kind of long out. There is a Discord server. I think it's called. I'll have to check again. Somebody made it a few weeks ago. I have to get on that app real quick though. Okay. Let me get it for you real quick. Yeah, I forget. I forget. I don't have it on my app now for some reason. So sorry. We do have a Facebook group though. Weather Freaks on Facebook. You can join us there. DC, your chance of a white Christmas is about 35 or 40%. Yeah, yours is about 40% in northern Delaware there. South Central Missouri, your best chance is coming up in a storm that I'm expecting by the end of November here. We'll have to see. I've never seen a white Christmas for actual snow since I was in elementary. Would that be normal? Where were you at again? BC Dreams? I forgot. I forgot the Discord server. I'm not a part of it anymore apparently. So yeah. So here's Weather Freaks. You can go ahead and join that. We have lots of discussions here. 99 Wolves, you can do whatever you want, man. Boston, you're looking at about a 50% chance, I think. Yeah, I think at some point we'll have a setup where blocking matches up with a storm going up the coast, and that'll lead to a slower storm, obviously, like you said. Bobby, are you talking about southern Missouri? This is what I was talking about for South Central Missouri. This one looks to possibly bring flakes. You didn't really specify what you meant by snow. So this is the next chance at seeing snow, or some sort of snow at least. Um, let's see. Does Tennessee look cold for December? Any chance for snow? Yeah, it does look really cold. Maybe in the mountains. I think there's a chance, but that's it. Yeah, and I think that's very possible again, Chris Matthews. Maybe not on the same scale, but do you think there will be a big snowstorm this winter where DC will be the bullseye? I think it's possible. I do think it's possible. Oklahoma, I can't really predict for you to have a white Christmas. I think there's probably like a 10% chance maybe, but yeah, not too great of a chance there. And that's maybe. I mean, it's probably under 10. Richmond, Virginia will get snow at some point. You're looking to be one of the colder portions of the United States this winter, so direct, but would be cool to see it grow. LOL. I don't know what you're talking about. Could Delaware see that snow? Uh, don't know which one you're talking about. Christopher, your second account got disabled as well? Most likely at some point they could be. Dude, how did your second account get disabled? Have you checked your first one? Northeast Ohio looks pretty cold, yeah. BC Dream, colder winters at first. Colder winters at first. Warmer winters eventually. Sometimes I use Pivotal Weather. I like it a lot for like warnings and advisories and watches. According to the National Weather Service, I like their map. It's really clean and you can zoom in really well. So. Did you notice El Nino Mordecai is forming now? I've been calling for that for probably about 4 months. So. Oh, okay. Christopher. That's good news. I haven't seen you post in a while, so I was like, yeah, I'm trying to help David Schlotthauer. He doesn't really take my advice too much. I would not advise him to delete all his videos. So that's for sure. Yeah, I think Southeast VA will get 10 to 12 inches this winter, maybe more. It's gonna be one of those winters for you guys. Um, they just noticed something. They are always kind of a step behind, and they don't really. I don't know. And when they do forecast stuff, it's usually not correct either. So for the first half of December, um, I think there's a chance, like a 50% chance, you see flakes in DC, but I can't really say much more than that. That's crazy. What's your guess on how much ice Oklahoma will get and snow? It's really hard to say. Signals look like you could get ice and snow this year. Doesn't always mean, excuse me, doesn't always mean that you will receive ice and snow. Hot and dry, by the way. I don't really know, but its ensemble models are showing really cold conditions, so I think it's just this run type thing. It'll probably change very quickly, or the ensemble models will change very quickly, one or the other. Do you think this would be like last year? I don't know what you're asking. 2011 to 2012 and 2015 to 2016. So 2011 to 2012 was way worse. In the next 10 days, my winter forecast will be coming out. Do you think we will be seeing more record lows as expected for Thanksgiving into December? I think definitely for Thanksgiving in New England, but into December, I wouldn't say record breaking necessarily. Kevin, that's a good question that I have no answer for. Fruity Bro, I think all 50. F 2015 to 2016 was the worst as far as temperatures go. For sure. It was above average pretty much everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, 2007 to 2008 was a pretty mild winter. Yeah, but in 2016 to 2017, some areas were below average temperatures. 2015 to 2016, on the other hand, was not the case. My favorite weather forecaster, I don't have one. Should be cold for those time periods. Early today, I think it was the GFS showed snow as far south as Savannah, Georgia, but has changed. Yeah, definitely. The what? Been a neutral phase? What? Average amount of snow for Detroit. Oh, thanks, Adrian. What kind of weather do you feel southwestern North Carolina will see over Christmas time frame? I think colder than average. Gunner Gaming, I'm subscribed to your channel. Did you see my question? No, I did not. What does El Nino Mordecai mean? It means it's west-based, and that typically leads to more cold conditions in the eastern United States, rather than kind of warm overall in the normal El Nino. Yeah, I agree. It's not going to be a dry winter, but 3.2 inches of snow does not mean that you're not going to have a dry winter, though I don't think that you will have a dry winter. It varies from area to area. Like Boston's is 2014 to 2015, for instance. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to end this one. It's nice chatting with all y'all. I'll see you guys later.